Well, if you've been watching my streams with, in particular, Sticks at 1 Eastern, you know that we've been predicting this for quite some time. This is the escalation that I believe the Kamala Harris uh, administration has been planning for quite some time. I believe that internal polling probably says that Donald Trump is ahead, so they're going to go ahead and launch and start World War III now while they still have the presidency. We are now sending boots on the ground to the Middle East and telling Americans in Lebanon to flee. Gee, what does that sound like? What does that sound like? Haven't we said this before? And then what happened? Right? What happened then? Now we're putting American lives on the ground for a war that the United States has nothing to do with, allegedly, and no possible benefit other than enriching the military-industrial complex. It's absolutely appalling. This is what happens when you have a head of lettuce as president who probably thinks we're sending troops to India, not Lebanon. You have cackling Kamala Harris, who is clearly ignoring her duties as vice president while out on the campaign trail. So whoever the puppets in charge are have decided, well, let's go ahead and escalate, because this is what's going to happen. Iran is suddenly going to say, I mean, isn't it coincidental that this morning they released the musings of the last potential Trump assassin who was lambasting Trump over his dealings with Iran? Isn't it curious that the U.S. government keeps saying Iran, Iran? Oh, Iran's got a team here that wants to get Trump, and Iran this and Iran that. And Iran's a big, there's they're gonna get U.S. military bases, blah 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 blah. And well, now we're sending troops back. As this is eerily similar, as somebody who was a senior in high school, or just graduated during the Afghanistan thing, had a lot of my friends sign up. This is having eerie similarities, and Trump is doing a press conference, I think, or he's a rally or something coming up. I'm gonna probably go live for it and see if he has anything to say about this. Obviously, he should be immediately disavowing this. This is just absolutely disgusting. We should not have any troops there at all. Just imagine a world where the United States, instead of playing world police, spent all that money on the homeless and the rampant drug problem and securing our own southern border. I know it's crazy. It'll never happen. But imagine, this is Kamala Harris's war now. This is probably their October surprise, right? They had to accelerate it because Trump is leading in the polls. The U.S. is sending troops to the Middle East in response to the surge in bad behavior between Israel, Hezbollah's region cheaters on the edge of an all-out war. Why? Why do we need boots on the ground? So some idiot wearing a vest can run into a group of our soldiers and self-detonate and drag us into World War III? Why do we need targets there? The United States does not need any targets in this area. The whole reason they're putting boots on the ground there is so that they can be sacrificed to get World War III going. There is absolutely, positively zero reason why we need to put more American lives at risk for the desert land, all right? Where they want more oil, or what is it that's in Gaza, natural gas or something like that. That's what all this crap is about. And the military-industrial complex. Just like dinner, you can't have any dessert until you eat your vegetables. You haven't even ended the Ukraine war, which is funding billions of dollars in the military-industrial complex. Now you want to start another war. If you haven't considered voting for Donald Trump before, I don't know what else to tell you. Do you have friends or family that are draft age? Because if you think a draft is out of the question under Kamala Harris, you got another thing coming. The Democrats and the neocons, there is a reason that they're trying to stop Trump at all costs. Why is it that they keep trying to take the life of the guy that didn't start any new wars? Why is it that they keep telling you he's the guy when quietly they're like, oh, well, we're just going to ship some more U.S. forces over there so that, yeah, why don't we just send some more people over there so some dude can yell Alawar snack bar and more American lives can be lost. Do we remember Abbey Gate? Does anybody remember those that lost their life that day in one of the stupidest wars that America's ever been in since Vietnam? Does anybody remember that? The Pentagon announced that an additional serviceman would be deployed to join the 40,000 already stationed there, along with a dozen warships and fighter squadrons. Now, if you look at the way the media, look at this. U.S. is deploying a, quote, small number of new troops. It doesn't sound like it. You got 40,000 there. Now you're sending a dozen warships and fighter jets? Why? Why can't... I thought Israel could take care of herself or whatever they're always saying. Why do we need boots on the ground? Why do we need American lives lost here? I know I'm saying why a lot, and you guys are screaming in the comments the real reason why. I get that, but this is Kamala Harris. This is Kamala Harris's regime. Joe Biden's not paying attention. So Kamala Harris wants your sons and daughters to go fight and die in the sand again. Again. This will escalate. They're setting it all. They've been setting this up for months with Iran's got a plot to get Trump. Iran's got this. Oh, look, Iran sent 45 hot air balloons up against Israel and 0 of them landed. But, ooh, Iran's super scary. Israeli forces have already ramped up airstrikes deep inside of Lebanon. The State Department has warned all Americans to leave as the risk of conflict spirals to levels not seen in years. Well, yeah, not since Trump was president, right? When Trump had all these idiots under control. Tensions have reached a boiling point in the last 7 days and started to deteriorate when pagers and walkie-talkies owned by members of Hezbollah went boom in a coordinated attack last week. That's Israel escalating. Israel gets to escalate, okay? And America has to have American lives put on the ground now because of that. Just so we're clear. Israel escalated, and now American troops have to go and fight and die in the sand. Or have their lives put at risk, at the very minimum. Devastating airstrikes by the Israeli military on Monday took out 100 people and injured a bunch of other people in Lebanon. Terrified residents in Beirut and elsewhere received calls and texts warning them to move away from Hezbollah targets. The Lebanon information minister condemned the attacks as a tactic of psychological war implemented by the... Bro, when you put all of your munitions in hospitals and schools, that's on you. I don't have a lot of faith in that. You put your weapon stashes in hospitals and schools, and then you cry and complain when schools and hospitals get targeted. That's your fault. All right? Put them somewhere else. You're the one putting your innocent civilians at risk. You don't care about the innocent civilians that die from this. You never have. I don't have a lot of time to worry about the, your hospitals and schools getting cratered because you're putting weapons there. The Biden administration, no, the Kamala Harris administration has warned Israel that escalation is not in their best interest and still wants a diplomatic solution. Well, they escalated anyway because they don't respect her. Nobody respects her. Nobody cares about what Kamala Harris has to say. Israel doesn't respect her. This is her war now. Because she is weak, right? Because she is weak. Israel just does whatever the heck they want. They escalate the war, and now Americans have to go stand in the desert. Sending a few troops. You're sending a dozen warships and fighter squadrons. For what? For what? The U.S. has a single aircraft carrier strike group, which includes the USS Abraham Lincoln in the region. So now we have a dozen. The U.S. has placed 4 squadrons of fighter jets in the region, bolstered additional last month of advanced F-22 fighter jets. I mean, so what's going to happen now? Iran's going to get involved, then Russia's going to get involved, and then we have World War III. I mean, that's how this shakes out. That's what the Kamala Harris administration wants. Kamala Harris is losing momentum in the polls, and so they're doing it now. I mean, I know I'm new to all this, and maybe I'm just completely off base. I don't think I am. I think that they're like, well, It doesn't look like Kamala Harris is going to win the election, so we got to get our war now. Send more troops. Why did the United States have troops there at all? We already send billions of your tax dollars over there to buy them missiles and bombs and everything else to protect themselves and to give them superior armed forces. We're sending billions to Ukraine for another war that the Biden-Harris administration wants to continue forever. And they're telling you that Orange Man is bad. Remember the Abrams Accords? Remember that? You know who did that? That was Donald Trump. They're trying to escalate this. And this, like a Jewish news syndicate, U.S. deploying a small number of troops. Does a dozen warships sound small to you? Do fighter jet battalions sound small to you? It doesn't sound small to me at all. 40,000 troops there. Okay, if you're only sending 10,000 more, that's 50,000 American lives in harm's way for Kamala Harris's war. And this is going to be a reckoning for Kamala Harris supporters. You know, all those voters in Michigan and Minneapolis, Michigan and Minnesota who are of Arab descent. Here you go. Are you in Michigan? Are you an Arab person who watches my videos? This is what you get with Kamala Harris. You get World War III. You get more of your people getting bombed. You get more brown kids bombed by the most diverse woman president ever. This is Kamala Harris is doing because nobody respects her. This is what the machine wants. We can't afford another war. You make sure you look up early voting in your state. Look up immediately and get registered to vote and vote Donald Trump to prevent World War III if we even still can.